Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me. Here too much raining.
Oh my goodness, is this Minecraft Beta Edition? Oh wow, I can't wait to play it! Let me just name the world. What is the first thing that comes to my mind? What's the word that's been on my mind all week and the only thing I've been feeling for several days? Disengaged, disingenuous. Oh, disappointment! Disappointment! That's the word of the day. Let's create this disappointing world. Oh, wow. We're already in a disappointing biome because it's not a plains biome. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. Although I was expecting something a little bit different, different is okay. Different than my expectations are okay. It looks different, but it's still wood. It's still giving me resources, and there's still animals here. At the end of the day, I need to get used to it, and maybe it's just not my cup of tea, but whoa. Hey, rude. Jesus! Oh, thank you for the wool. Maybe it's not my cup of tea, but at the end of the day, it might be someone else's cup of tea, and the programmers made it so that I can spawn in this biome because maybe they thought it was cool. Maybe they thought it was a good idea and that some people would like the spruce biome, and maybe it might be even better in their opinion to the caves biome. I mean the plains biome. I don't know why it said caves. Caving has been on my mind. Anyway, so I look around and it's a drastic change from what I'm expecting, but I will accept it the way it is and hopefully I will get used to it, right? Because that's the way things go. Sometimes things don't always go the way you want them to. Even though I've been used to plain biomes the whole time I've ever spawned in every world ever, this is a bit abrupt, but it's fine. It's fine, because not everything should be the same, because if it is the same, then it's going to be boring. Now that, my friend, relates to the topic of today. The topic of today is obviously disappointment. But why am I so disappointed? I joined this world completely unrelated to anything of the topic, but I'm giving it as an example. So let's pretend today. Let's use our imagination. This is going to be really hard, so bear with me. Let's do this together. Let's look at this flower and pretend, okay? This flower has nothing to do with anything. It's just to help you focus, okay? Look at this flower, stare at it. It's yellow, it's bright, it smells like a dandelion, it looks like a dandelion, it tastes like a dandelion, okay? It's the last one of the season. And let this dandelion capture you into the world of my mind. And in my mind, there's a reality in which the beta Minecraft, which is the older version of Minecraft, is actually the newer version. So let's say, for example, today you're playing the latest version with all of these fun features and animals, and then the next update, suddenly they remove everything.
Goodbye.
And it's very bare bones and weird because now you're looking at the beta and saying, why would you remove all of the animals and all of the factors that everyone loved with the new Minecraft? And they said, oh, it was too muddied. We had to cut things out because it was too much. And I'm thinking, you know what? There were a lot of different mechanics. Although I don't agree with removing as much as you did, sometimes sacrifices had to be made. But obviously, that was too much. And you basically stripped away everything that made Minecraft so wonderful. Because if you look at the older version, you might think, hey, this is pretty cool. But then you think to yourself, although these sounds are nice and they're kind of like aesthetically pleasing, and I like the simplicity of it, it takes away all the charm that the older Minecraft had. Oh, excuse me. Well, we were done anyway. Boop. Notice how I just broke that flower and killed its life? That's also how I feel right now. Like, my life has ended. My soul has broken a piece inside. And all that's to say, that example, that hyperbole, is related to my thoughts on Trigun Stargaze. Ooh. See, this is such a pretty shade of brown. And this is the regular brown color, which is a lot darker. But I think this should have been light brown, because she looks like, almost like a mocha. Like a caramel-ish. Like a nice coffee. A latte! Okay, let me stop. Anyway, for that one 7-year-old who was watching and saying, what the heck does that even mean? What is Trigun Stargaze? That sounds like a nuclear cult, secret Area 51, solicitation, North Korea, buzzword. I don't know. And let me explain, it's a show. And I'm just gonna give a very brief I shouldn't have done that. I'm just gonna give a very brief explanation so you can understand what this is. Trigun is an anime from 1998. Before the anime, there were 2 mangas. Then, after the mangas were written, the anime was created. So it has the liberty to take the whatever kind of weird turns and changes it wants to. And then after the first 2 books, there was another 14 books. They extended it, and that is called Trigun Maximum. So there's 2 books, then the anime from 1998, and then 14 more books, and then finally a movie. And that ended in like, what, 2010 or something? The movie is a big nothing burger. It's just entertainment. It has nothing to do with anything, so we don't have to talk about it. Okay, this is like a flashback. I forgot to mention that in 2023, the show was rebooted, and now there is a newer version called Trigun Stampede, and then now in 2026, they had season 2 called Trigun Stargaze. So that's what I am talking about today. And this isn't a deep dive because I just don't have the capacity for that. That's a subject for another time. To give you some insight on what the heck is even going on, it's kind of like Cowboy Bebop, but like kind of like funnier. Like it's sillier. It's not so like Cowboy Bebop is like cooler, if you will, and then Trigun is like sillier. Whoa, is that a booty hole?
Not a hole, Keisha. A valve.
So they're both anime space westerns, you know what I mean? It was 26 episodes. There's a bit of lore here and there that relates to the original manga, but they're not the same at all. They're not the same at all. The plot is different and the characters are written differently, and especially towards the end, it's completely different, and it's allowed to be different because it was originally written in a different way, if that makes any sense. Lava fall. Weren't these like executed? I think they were like, they're only in caverns now. Am I dumb? I don't know, probably. Anyway, Jesus Christ. What is going on over here? Why are there so many? Guys, spread out. Why are we swimming? Okay, I'm living here. This is my house now. I need to make it a point that I'm not pulling out any evidence. I'm not doing any research. I am not looking at interviews. I've seen some panels. I've not seen any interviews. I have not seen much fan commentary because, frankly, fandoms to me are personally AIDS, and it's just something I don't like to identify myself with. And I align with people who are in fandoms. I like them. I think they're really cool. But am I one of those people? No. Okay, I need to make a shelter before I perish and die. I'm digging underground. I can't do this. I can't. I'm scared. If I die, I'll never be able to find my way back here. Oh, I don't have a torch. Well, I guess we're sitting in the dark. Oh, I think I can make a furnace though. I don't know if you can burn wood in this version. I also can't see anything. Oh, I can burn my pickaxe. I can burn wood. Look at that. Wait, what was I burning? What am I doing? Can I even cook anything? Glass. I was making glass. I wanted to make a window. Anyway, sorry. I'm not in the mood. Okay, I'm not in the mood right now. That being said, back to the fandom thing. I have not sold my organs to Satan to do every single possible bit of research in the universe, to know every single detail. Like, what does Vash's left butt cheek look like? Okay, that's public information, but you know what I mean. I don't know. How am I supposed to know that? What's Rem's maiden name? Is it Rem? Is it Save Rem? Is it Save? I don't know. We don't know. I mean, someone out there has to know. And if you don't know, then you will get crucified and tarred and feathered, and your skin will be ripped off, and you'll be a prisoner of North Korea or the Black Dolphin in Russia. So this is why I don't want to say anything on any Reddit, because Reddit is also, like I said, let's say it together, AIDS. And I'm not saying it on TikTok because TikTok is still AIDS Junior. It's AIDS light, okay? It's like herpes. I don't want to deal with it. And it's going to be dark at night. Yeah, there we go. Will that give me any light? This is like a Saddam Hussein booby trap or whatever. Anyway, because I don't know everything under the sun that there ever is to know, and I haven't memorized the script forwards and backwards in Japanese and English and Korean, I am a little bit nervous to say my very hot take. And I haven't seen anyone say anything, and like I said, I'm not going to say anything because I will get crucified actually. All that to basically say, I have sharp opinions with really no basis and no actual explanation. I do have explanation, but I'm not going to like refer and contract or whatever and ask a peer and phone a friend to like be like why everything I'm saying is valid, because literally no one cares but me. No one's gonna listen, but someone's gotta listen. You know what I mean? So if there's any pony out there, even if it's one minuscule 7-year-old who's watched Trigun is like, I agree with your hot take. Or like some 40-year-old woman who's like, actually, I didn't want to say anything, but Yeah, I agree with you, sister. So, here are my opinions. Just like the example I used earlier, when you're looking at Minecraft beta and you're pretending that this version I'm playing now is actually the newest version, and they took away everything special and everything grand and everything cute and fun, you will be disappointed, and for valid reasons. Now, everything I'm about to say is a little bit complicated, but just know, okay, Trigun has this reputation of like boy who cried wolf situation, because people who are boomers and millennials and and only watched 1998 anime are like, why is Trigun Stampede so different? I don't understand. I don't like it. I don't like it. And like, I get it. But at the same time, those are two completely different things. And people are allowed to not like a show. Obviously. Like, you can not like it, but you also can't say that it sucks just because you don't like it or it doesn't add up with 1998. Because 1998, you can argue, is actually worse because it's like nothing like the manga. And like I said, it is different. It is kind of like rewritten every time, especially in Trigun Stampede and Trigun Stargaze, it's rewritten or told a little bit differently. And that's perfectly acceptable because it would be boring if it was just a copy paste of the manga. But let me tell you something. Trigun Maximum is the best, nope, not an opinion, actually fact. It's the best written manga of all time. I don't care. Argue with the wall. I know that there are some major issues with it. There are some things that are unnegotiably bad. Okay, I know. I'm aware. But for the 32 Trimax fans that are out there, I hear you. I support you. Oh, it's finally daytime. Get me out of here. I'm being claustrophobic. Crap. Freaking sand, dude. I did this to myself. I gotta build a whole thing. Whoa. Hey, you call your Uber. It's kind of like how people say that Dragon Ball Z or whatever is like one of the best animes known to man. And obviously I disagree with that, but I can see exactly why people would say that, and I kind of make the same point in my favor towards Trimax, because yeah, objectively it is not the best anime and mine is not the best manga. And obviously it's everyone's opinion, but also if you look at it in like an Einstein way, it's not the best ever written or it's not the best anime. But everything that it's known for adds up. All of the like the little details adds up. And you look at Dragon Ball Z and you see all these adaptations, you're like, why is it so popular? And then you like listen to the story and all these characters and they have their own arcs and everything, and just like everything about it is so well written and it adds up. And that's exactly how I feel about Trigun Maximum. And that's very important. That's very important. I first watched Trigun Stampede and I was like, and the animation was, and is, one of the best things I've ever seen. It's made by the same people who made Beastars, and so that's why it looks like that. And I also thought Beastars was incredible animation. It's just so cool, and so I kept watching. I was like interested because when I was watching, believe it or not, when I was watching Trigun Stampede, I was extremely confused, and then I found out there was a manga, and I never read a manga ever in my life. So then I read it, and then that's when I was like, actually, these cats are cooking. Then I go to watch the anime, and I watch everything at least 15 times, okay? I'm well versed in the Trigun universe. Although, additionally, I'm a human being with an IQ of probably like room temperature, and so God forbid, I can't memorize every single thing that happens, so I don't know word for word what goes on in what specific order in Trimax, even though I've read it like 20 times. I've never been a studier, okay? I don't know. All I know is I read it and I like it. So, everything that I'm watching, the movie and 98 and Stampede, I'm watching all of this because it's like an extension of Trimax. In one way or another, it's like a distant relative in a bunch of different fonts. It's just an extension of that to me because, I mean, it is, but also it's kind of not, but it kind of is. Because Trimax is my favorite, and also it is, period, the best manga ever written of all time, I am a little bit biased, as you can probably presume, but also are the ones who are the millennials raiding the Trigun Reddit and taking over because they're all fans of 98. Everyone and their mother is fans of 1998, and they're all old, they're all in their 30s and 40s, and they're all on Reddit all day, reminiscing about the good old days. And there's a bunch of 12-year-olds who are like, I like Stampede. And then there's like a couple of people who like Trimax, and let me tell you, the ones who like Trimax the most are the GOATs because they make the best arts and the best edits. But I can understand why it's not as easy to get into because it's not a TV show and it's pretty like long series. I mean, people like One Piece, but not everyone reads One Piece, you know what I mean? Because why would you do that to yourself? hey, it's been a second. I just went on a long rant and the words I was using were very confusing and it didn't make sense. So I'm going to be as direct as I possibly can. Because all these metaphors are getting too convoluted and even I was confusing myself. So we're just gonna start right here. This is what my house looks like currently. I'm moving out soon. I'm also starving to death. Let me explain what's going on. In a way, the 1998 old boomer millennial annoying fans, oh, excuse me, that one slipped. The Unks are in battle and beef with the new gen fans, the Stampede fans, because it's not original and it's very different and that's all there's to say about that. And because it's so drastically different and they don't understand what they're looking at, they're almost like, this isn't even Trigun anymore. And not only do I respect that opinion, but I also agree with it because it's the correct opinion. It's not an opinion, it's a fact. They are completely different. They're completely different. And like I said, the millennials are, in my opinion, a bit irritating because they get their nostalgia glasses hyper glued onto their face and they don't know how to take it off. And I'm like, guys, please show some humanity, show some respect, because they have some sort of beef because they're so completely different. It gets nasty and people are like weird and really weird. And it's just like this online discourse that doesn't need to exist. And at the end of the day, everyone can argue, okay, the fact is that everyone is entitled to their own opinions and no one opinion is the correct one. There's so many haters out there, but they're unfair and unjust haters because they don't like Tri-Stamp because it's so different or because of his personality, Vash's personality, the main character, is so drastically different from the original. And I, young grasshopper, once was one of those people who agreed, actually, if you don't like it, you don't like it. It's a rewrite. And also, it's Trimax. If you haven't read Trimax, that's completely fine. In fact, I accept you. If you just watched 1998 and you're nostalgic for it and you don't like Stampede, that's perfectly fine. Call it a day. But you cannot sit here and say that it's bad because it's completely different from the original because you don't know what you're talking about. That being said, I'm kind of making the same exact argument against myself, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But it's just a constant argument. It's a constant argument. I mean, some people didn't even watch it and they're like, but the animation is just so despicable and so different. It's new. Like, please grow up. Put the glasses away. They are so annoying. And 1998, in my opinion, was mid. I said it, it's mid. I think it's really fun. I think it's great. It's so incomparable to Trimax though. It's like a completely different thing. So I like it for a different reason. I like it because it's connected to the original story that I'm used to, but also it's got a fun, it's a fun show. It's an old anime. It's a space western. It's cool. It's fun. What more is there to say? It's not revolutionary. The soundtrack is incredible, and that was a bit revolutionary. And I mean, I guess if you want to use a big word for that, I mean, sure, it was, people liked it. People liked it a lot. That's all there's to say about that. It's pretty great. Not as popular as something like Cowboy Bebop, but still, it made its impact, and people called it a day, and people who are fans of it are like heavy fans of it. Obviously, the new show brought in a whole ton of new fans, and now they're like arguing for space, and it's just annoying. And like I said, the people who are understanding that it's unnecessary and stupid were once me. I mean, they still are me. I still agree with that sentiment, but however, here's where the main squeeze comes in, okay? Here, we're getting back into it. Trigun Stargaze. Trigun Stargaze is season 2 of Trigun Stampede, and I waited 3 years for this bad boy to come out. And also, side note, I'm not an OG fan, and I get really annoyed when anyone argues like, I've been a fan since 1964, and I was there when Hitler won, and like, I don't know, just like, who cares that you are older than me or you realized it before? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. People who are like, I don't want this song to blow up because it's niche. Like, it's just screaming insecurity. Please find something else. Is this something that represents your whole personality? Find something else. God, please, Lord have mercy on my soul. You guys are insufferable, and it's all I ever hear on TikTok, which is also why I hate TikTok. Oh, was that an Enderman? Did an Enderman just burn? Am I crazy? Oh my god! It was an Enderman! Why do Endermen burn? That's crazy. Anyway, when I saw the trailer for Stargaze, I was so excited. Every time I watch Stampede, I'm thinking to myself, like, this animation is great. It's great. It's great. But everyone and their mother, including myself, has the same exact opinion that the pacing is horrendous. It's so weird. They only had 12 episodes, and what they decided to use those 12 episodes for was just really weird. It made me question, because of the timeline that they, not only what scenes they decided to put in, but also the timeline in which they decided to organize it. I was a bit nervous for how season 2 is going to look, timeline-wise. Like I said earlier, Trimax is all about the characterization for me. It's like so well written. It's funny, but it's also, there's so many different characters and there's so many side stories and it's a lot, but it doesn't feel like too much. It doesn't feel confusing. I mean, yeah, at some points it is, but honestly, it can only be confusing because the poor guy did not write down any facts about the world and some things just don't make sense and that's just the way it is. But the character arcs are incredibly well written and the way the story is written, I wouldn't say necessarily the storyline, if that makes sense, but like the story itself is great. I think like the pacing was good. Nothing really stood out, but I'm telling you, dude, like you have so much time to really understand and connect with the characters and everyone's backstory, and even people who aren't important, who don't like impact the story that much. It's still like there's so many like side villains or side characters that like, I mean, there's a couple of like side stories, but then there's also some people who actually interact with Vash or whatever, and you see them and you're like, it just gives you more insight on not only his character. It's not something to push along Vash's character necessarily just for him, but also for the world and the way different people were raised, and it's just very interesting in general. And I think although it's very long and there's like some parts that weren't like, we didn't need all these extra side stories, we didn't need to know every single character and like whatever, it's still very interesting. It's not boring. It's not, that's like a huge thing. It's not boring. I think like in the beginning it's got its flaws because like there's a huge gap in between like when it was first drawn and then later on, so the style changed a lot, so you can look at it and understand what's going on. And then not even talking about the Black Horse translation, because that was just an abomination. The fan translation truly changes your life. If you made it legible and not talking like an AI, then it's a little bit more enjoyable. And also the translation just fails on so many aspects, which is also I think why some people miss out if they're trying to get into it and they're like, okay, let me buy all these books or whatever, or they buy it online and they get the corporate Google Translate edition. That's a whole nother pet peeve. Whatever. Anyway, what I'm saying is that Trigun Stampede is rushed in a weird way. It's unnecessarily rushed in some parts. I don't know why they made the certain decisions that they did, but they did, and I think it's fine. It was fine until I saw what was to come, because I had various predictions as to where they could take season 2. There wasn't much information. We didn't even know what one of the main characters looked like until like a few months before the actual release of the second season. I mean, that being said, we really don't know what's going on. I mean, I don't know what's going on really. Again, I don't look at, I look at panels, but most of the panels are like, you know, they answer a couple questions here and there, but it's mostly about like concept art. It's like actually all they focus on are the art and the world building, which is fantastic because, like I said, a huge issue, and which is why it was so confusing, is because a lot of it is chopped up to because it can. Anime logic, it is what it is. Some things that are never talked about again. A lot of things don't make any sense. And that's kind of disappointing, and it takes away from it, but it doesn't take away so much, because what's more important than the science aspect of it is actually the characters and the story. Who saw that one coming? Who knew that the story was more important than A squared plus B squared? You know what I mean? I still agree that I've never seen such a beautiful anime. The people who made it, the studio, whatever, has made some other very beautiful films, and I think it's really great, and honestly one of the best they could have come up with. And I know Beastars was fantastic. I mean, I have some issues with it, and a lot of people have some issues with it, but at the end of the day, it's a pretty good story, it's entertaining and whatever. This is a different font because it's not like that there was a Beastars 1998 that they're rewriting with some like old expectations or I don't know, whatever. And I'm sure I think there is a manga to go off of, but again, it's not like, it's more of like a social drama more show. It's not like, there's not like, it's not an alien thing. Does that make sense? Like, there's a difference. So they didn't have to cram in all of this information, but they wanted to, because I think that was one of the bigger criticisms of the manga. Not that I know, but what I can assume is that it was because no one knew like what was going on. It was very confusing. Like, you had to like really take your time. And so they kind of took a shotgun and shot themselves straight in the ankle and ripped that bad boy right off. They thought that, they kept the shotgun for protection, and then suddenly there's a bug on their foot and they shoot their own foot. That's exactly what happens, because they didn't want it to be so from, again, my opinion, I don't know behind the scenes stuff, but what it looks like to me is they focus so much on world building that they didn't do anything else, and there's no characterization. The plot is so confusing and all over the place. It doesn't make any sense. There's absolutely no time for any sort of connection. It is one big art piece info dump. That's all it is. One art piece info dump. It's a beautiful, gorgeous anime, and it's just wasted potential. You watch it once and you're done. You watch it because it's beautiful and you're like, I don't really know what that was about. I guess I enjoyed it. Let me watch something else. It's not something you can rewatch. I mean, you can if you really like the universe, but again, you're probably not going to enjoy it, or at least to the most you would if you knew the context before. Even if you only watched 98, it's still confusing. If you read the manga and then watched it, you could probably understand what's going on, but it would still take a few watches to really comprehend what you're even looking at, because things did change. Yes, that's of course, and I'll get into that in a minute, but it's just how horrendous the pacing is that it soils the whole show, because you can make it as pretty as you want, but there's nothing more important than the contents of the show. I cannot stress it enough, and this is common sense. And I don't know why they fumbled the bag. That, companies do stuff all the time when you're like, why? The only reason is maybe there's some sort of legal blackmail going on behind the scenes. This doesn't sound like that situation, especially because there's no such like issue of copyright or nothing like that, because the creator himself is also working on the film alongside them. And again, I don't know. This is another thing. I don't know how much actual involvement he has, especially with the writing. And what I can assume from is that he doesn't really care all that much. I think he's just happy to see a show and he wants it to be the best that it can be and put a lot of money into it. But he's not the animators and he's not the writer. He's not writing the script. I don't think he has that much personal involvement. That being said, compared to his manga, people decided to take it in a slightly different direction. So it's giving like the writers read the manga and said, here are some key points we want to implement, and then they just put the puzzles all over the place and started gluing them and say, hey, this looks pretty cool. It's kind of like, I want to rewrite this and I want to keep some of these key aspects, but I got in over my head and we've animated this for 5 years and I just want it to be put together already. It's giving rushed. It's giving, we didn't put much thought into it. It's giving, let's have some creative freedom, and then they took it too far and it doesn't make much sense anymore. They put all their eggs in one basket. You know what I mean? It's like if you start a big painting and then you're like, I got in way too over my head. I've been spending 20 hours on this. I'm done. Let me just like add some splotches and call it a day. That's what it's giving. They spent so long and so much money on the animation, and it is so worth it and so beautiful, but not as a sacrifice of the actual story. What I was saying before, where I was like, it's like the boy who cried wolf with all these 98 fans. Like, you can't have these toxic 98 fans who are like 1998 is better, and I'm not even gonna try and watch Stampede because it sucks and it's gross and it's weird and I don't like it and it's different. I see that, and then I'm watching the new season and I'm like, what is this? Like, this isn't Trigun. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. So I understand where they're coming from. Because if I go around and say, I don't like Stargaze for these variety of reasons, and I either don't specify, hey, it's not just this, it's actually all these other things too, then people might just be like, hey, you're just hating because it's not like the original. It's not like Trimax. And that's not at all what I'm saying. And that's why I don't say anything, because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. Like, I hate the people who act like that, and then yet here I am acting like that. I'm not putting on my nostalgia glasses. There are some things that really lit the blaze, because I'm watching it and it's already a bit of a jump scare when I'm expecting something and it looks very different. I had a variety of ideas in which place the new season would take. I don't know why I said it like Yoda, but you know what I mean. I was preparing for them to cut out a lot of stuff. There are some very important aspects that they missed in the first season, and I'm not going to go into detail on every single thing that they screwed up, in my opinion, because like I said, I wasn't there. I don't know why they chose what things they did over other things that I personally thought were way more impactful and necessary. I feel like they sacrificed the wrong things, is what I'm saying. Overall, I'm allowed to say some things that I think are generally wrong about the show, and a lot of those do have to do with the fact that they are different, but not different because it's different than Trimax, and I think Trimax is better. And oh, Elendira changed, and I don't like that. I think the way Elendira changed, which for context, she was like this baddie with a sick fashion sense and was really cool, but kind of didn't really add that much to the story. Like, not really. Over other characters, she didn't, let's be so real. But she was really cool and fun. And they changed her to this little girl who's like, I'm kind of annoyed because I loved her like fashion side. Like that was like a big part of her that wasn't really spoken about. She was just a diva. They took a diva and turned her into like a 7-year-old. And although I found it annoying, I also thought it was a better creative choice. A lot of people hate it, but like I said, I think they hate it for the wrong reasons, because they're just hating it because it looks different, or they preferred the old Elendira, which I also get because I too prefer the old Elendira, but as a story sense, this makes more sense, and it's just better. It's just better. I think the old one was so much better, and I'm disappointed they couldn't make her character this diva baddie and also be the new character. But without going into too much detail of every single lore aspect, I think it makes more sense actually, and I do like it a lot more. Although I really miss the old Elendira. So that's one thing where I'm giving an example as to like, I do like the changes. I like the changes. Wolfwood's personality changes in every single adaptation. No matter like how much it does change every single time. And you could say that for everyone. And I do agree, but the most drastic difference is with Trigun Stampede. And I'm not talking about Wolfwood because, I mean, yes, he's younger and also more like annoyed. He's just like he's just mad. He's just mad all the time. He's just like kind of a grouch, a grunch, if you will. I'm just saying the personality that changed the most was Vash, and also Knives. Vash is the main character though, and at first everyone hated it, especially 98 fans. I mean, obviously the new fans didn't know the difference and were like, I kind of like it, or the Trimax fans were like, it's very different, but I think it's fun. So what? It's just something new. It's just a different fun. Like I said, 98 is extremely different from Trimax. He is so much more happy and lively in the anime than the manga. You know, again, they took two different kind of twists on it, but I liked how they had a slightly different like vibe going on for Vash, and everyone, even Meryl, had like a slight personality change, and they said themselves, the creators, I remember in one of the panels, they were like, oh, season 2 is more like, everyone is kind of like younger and I guess more naive in season 1, and they're going to change in season 2, not only their personality but appearance. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But also, again, making me nervous because why are we having, there's only 2 seasons and we're going to have like a slice in half. Like, I feel like that kind of personality change happened way sooner in the manga. And again, it's not what I'm used to, so I feel like the pacing for me is already weird like that. So for some like context, for example, in the very like beginning of the manga, there is the 5th moon incident or whatever, the July incident, where Vash like basically blows up the whole city and blows a hole in the moon, and it scares people and also makes him go into hiding. It's a big impact, but it also happens very early on. It happens in 1998 and it happens in Trigun Stampede. And the thing is that it happens at the end of Trigun Stampede season 1, so they had a lot of time to have some event that usually was very early on happen later. And the thing that is bothering me is not that it happened in a different order, because like I said, that's fine. I was a little bit surprised and it made me a bit nervous to see what was coming for season 2 if they pace this out so much. How much are they gonna have to take up? Because the majority of the book, it happened in like the first 2 books, that the 5th moon incident. So the first whole season is like basically the first 2 books, and then you have 14 more to put in one other season. There's no other seasons after that. I'm a little bit skeptical, but I'm trusting the process. So when I finally got to Stargaze, when I'm seeing all these trailers and everything, I'm super hyped, and I heard that my boy spent all his money on it. Like, there's a lot of money put into it and a lot of time, and they're really trying to bang it up hard or whatever, trying to make their money's worth it, trying to make it really good for the ending. And so my hopes are very high. The episodes start coming out, but I don't want to watch it until the dub, and 3 episodes come out before episode 1 is dubbed. And so I finally get to watch it, and instantly I'm upset. Okay, I'm already a little bit upset about Millie because the way Millie looks is weird. They made her look weird, and that's like another, again, personal opinion that a lot of people don't like. I don't like the way they changed Legato's hair and flat ironed it and then whiteified Wolfwood, and just like, I don't know, there's like a lot of things I don't like about it. I hate his shoes. I hate Wolfwood's shoes. They're gross. They're really gross. It doesn't make any sense. sense. Those are like, small details that don't really matter. At the end of the day, it's just creative choices. What's not acceptable though is when I'm watching it and suddenly we get a whole episode of jibber jabber, whole bunch of straight info dump, and there is nothing leading into it. We don't get no intro. We don't have an overview of like the sky, or like we don't see a flashback to ease our sorrows, ease something. It's just suddenly we are in the car, and I hope you remember what happened last season, because here we are. It's been 3 years. You better rewatch, especially if you don't know the context. I mean, don't worry. They explain it to you. They explain it to you as literally as possible, because yeah, you might have missed some context, but instead of like, putting it out there in a meaningful way and explaining it or showing it, let's just put it out there word for word, exactly what's going on. Let's get a little flashback going, which, like I said, is acceptable because the flashbacks in the movie were obnoxious and weird, and it's just like, okay, I was there. But the whole time, that's all I was thinking is, I was there. I know. And like I said, a flashback here and there, that's acceptable. And there is no and. That's actually all there is to say about it. There's no and. That's it. Okay. Listen, all I'm saying is that the writing was really trash. It's bad. It's really bad. They also changed Merle's voice actor, I did notice, and I think I like it. I prefer her old voice, but also I think I might eventually like this one better. It's just something I'll have to get used to. Again, just a small detail that it's not something that's like ruining my whole perspective of the show. Oh my god, I don't like the way this sounds or looks. No, I don't like the way it's written. The writing is so bun cheeks. Okay, I'm watching it and I'm already like a little bit overwhelmed because it's just a sudden info dump. It's just everything's very sudden, and Millie's already established, and obviously there was a time skip. There's a 2-year time skip, but also not only was there a 2-year time skip, but then we're just like launched into now, and we don't jump to Eric's and like whatever. We jump to Millie and Meryl, which is great, but what's not great is how she's just a completely already known character, and we don't really get much information about her. If that makes sense, I just feel like it's very jolting. That's just my opinion about it. I don't really have a bigger explanation, so again, it might be like I'm being too critical there. What I do stand by is that the whole episode is too much. It's too fast. It's too info dump. This is something you would put in at least episode 3. I'm confused. It almost feels like the whole season is going to be 4 episodes because there's no time to establish any characters, no time to relive anything that's happened other than, the explosion, but nothing in the time gap. It's just something like suddenly we're here. I remember what happened last time. Please tell me what happened within the last 2 years. Oh, Vash is spotted or something. Knives is on the loose. Who saw that one coming? A plant is stolen. Okay, that's the news we get. It's just, again, story and story and story. It's just like world building. It's not like there's no characterization anywhere. I mean, there is, but it feels so dry. And I'm not just talking about the season, because when I was watching it, it kind of like flash bombed me, and I was like, oh, wait a second. I actually kind of hate the first season too, because my hopes were high that they would turn it around, and they in fact did not turn it around, and I am giving it a chance. I'm giving it a chance because I watched the first 3 episodes. I mean, watch is a strong word. I skimmed the second 2 because I'm mad, and we're gonna get into it, but I'm giving it a chance for the whole thing to come out, and I'll watch everything in total, and we'll see what direction it takes, because it just honestly was one thing after the other. I was watching it, and in my head, I had an idea of the worst case scenario. What's the worst case scenario? Where there's actually a couple of them. Smaller ones and bigger ones. And one of the smaller ones might be they cut out some characters that I like. One of the characters being Domina. I feel that is a huge character impact. A huge impact for the story. I can't stress enough how important Domina was. It was Knives' like last call to humanity, call from humanity. It was, Chronica's situation. Like everyone's connection. It was just kind of like the final straw. It was like a big choice. It was jolting. It was like a human choice, not a human choice, but it was kind of like he lost the plot, and you really could tell it by that point, and you can connect with Domina, and then you realize how bad he's actually lost the plot. And I just think it's extremely important to his character and getting invested in what the heck is going on towards the end of the book, where there's this like big war. And the war is one of the best things about Trimax, and that's what the whole thing builds to, is is this big war between the brothers, and that's like the whole thing. And another thing that I haven't mentioned yet is when I was looking at the first episode and I went back and I was just thinking about how they were portrayed, and I'm like, if Knives and Vash are meeting already, and I skimmed the next 2 episodes, but let me tell you, they had that one meet, and then they had that one meetup where they blew up the 5th moon or whatever in both versions, and then they had this additional conversation after Knives was kind of revived, and then they basically don't see each other for the whole rest of the series until the war. And it's extremely important that they don't interact with each other, because the whole thing is that they don't really see each other's sides. Flirred. And like I said, I know they have limited time, but they still have 24 episodes. And Trigun 1998 had 26 episodes, and most of the time, like the first 14 episodes, nothing happened. It was just silly. It wasn't lore related. And because this is so stressed and emphasized on lore stuff and whatever you want to call it, it's kind of a big deal that you just decided to slam everything into one big sandwich, and now it's just giving Timu. It's giving I don't know what the original plot was, but trust me guys, we got this. And let me just I don't know. I feel like it's lost its integrity, if that's the word for it. I don't know. But I also feel just from knowing that at the very end of season 1, they had their meetup, and then at the beginning of season 2, where I'm seeing his corpse reunite, and then he's alive and stuff, and I think he's talking to Vash. I don't know what's going on. Whatever. Don't come at me. I don't know. But I do know that he shows up so often and frequently and directly after season 1. That's kind of a drastic difference, and very different from what I was not only expecting, but also how his characterization was. I just mean I don't know. What I'm saying is, I think it was pretty important, whether that be my humble opinion or otherwise, that they had a long time before they started talking again. Because that combined with Vash's new personality, like I said earlier, I don't have a problem with it. In fact, I liked it. And now I'm realizing how much I actually don't like it. And it's not because of the personality itself, but I feel like it kind of goes against his character, and not because of he's, very different acting. That's true. His personality is pretty different. Actually, it's very different, but that's not the problem I had. The problem I had was knowing that, and then knowing all these big impacts that probably won't really have an impact now. Because what happened, the biggest difference is when he's meeting up with Knives and everything, he goes from he's happy and jolly and whatnot. He's got this secret stoic side of his depression or whatever. And then he meets Knives and he gets really serious. And after he blows a hole in the 5th moon, he loses all hope. And his personality goes from he just slowly starts losing his hope in himself and the world, and he's I'm not gonna beat Knives, I'm truly losing it. And then after Wolfwood dies, that's a whole thing too, and it just all these different canon events, if you will, for him change his character over time, but kind of clay, it kind of Play-Doh kind of mold. But with the starting mold, it's not some guy who's optimistic but feels extreme guilt or whatever. It's just pure stupid. It's just stupid. I don't like the way he acts. I don't think it's because, yeah, you see this guy and you think, oh, he's so sweet. He can't be the one who's murdering hundreds of people and whatever. I mean, he's not, but that's what the rumors say. How can this sweet little angel, this little Pookie Bear, cause all this distress and danger? It doesn't make any sense. The stories don't add up. And then they, begin to hate him over time anyway. And that's also something that happens in Trimax, and that's a whole thing in itself. So can of worms. But that being said, it's not only in a completely different font, but he doesn't get to mold and change over time because he's already super pathetic. Over time, he can get sadder. And in a way, he could be more pathetic. But if he's starting off with pathetic and then gets sadder over time, now I'm just okay, I just feel bad for the guy. I don't know how to describe it. I just think it's weird. I think it's really weird, and I don't think it works. And I didn't realize that until I saw the direction that they were taking season 2 and how close together these so-called giant impacts of his personality and character were, and how much they're just squishing everything together, and unnecessarily too, because yes, they have, in my opinion, the three ladies, the 3 interactions that they have are very important ones. They're all slightly different. I mean, Vash with Knives, that kind of interaction. And it might be difficult to, not squish them together, but at the same time, you have 24 episodes, and you were planning 2 seasons from the start. So there wasn't really any reason why you had to put one major life event right next to the other one. And one of the biggest pet peeves I had, which is also probably a personal opinion and makes me even more nervous. And another thing that I thought was one of the worst case scenarios is the war and how they were going to destroy it. They're going to destroy the concept of the whole war, because that's one of the biggest parts of the manga. It's one of the best parts. It's the final moment. You know, like, let's be so for real, it's the war at the end of the book. Now, the ending itself in the manga, pure cheeks. I mean, we don't have to talk about that. It's embarrassing at this point. But before that, right before it ended, it was fantastic. And tell me why. Riddle me this, okay? I'm watching the first episode, and we're like, what, like 6 minutes in? 5 minutes in? And the first thing Zazie says is, they're coming. And I know what that means. It means the humans are coming. And for context, okay, Zazie is like an entity that lives on the planet, and they are all like 100 years ago, people crashed onto this planet. Zazie lives there. They're the only one that lives there. Call it a day. Oh, a pet. I'll call you Ointment. Ointment. Like ointment. Anyway, the whole thing is that they're stuck on this planet. They can't leave because there are two suns, and the solar rays or whatever interfere with their satellites. And so they're, you know, when they crashed, they lost a lot of technology that they had. And so there's a group of people who are trying to restore communication to Earth and let them know, hey, we actually didn't make it to our destination. We've crashed and burned here and we need help. So Zazie, having an aura, is like, I can sense the portals are opening, which is also kind of what happened in the manga. But it was more so like the Earthlings did it. I think Zazie is explaining that there's some kind of wormhole with her worms or something. I don't know. I don't know, honestly. And honestly, I can't even remember the exact context of how that whole portal situation opened up. But I do know it was after communication, because how else would they know where they are and what they're up to? So when suddenly Zazie's like, oh yeah, this wormhole is opening up, that's kind of a big plot change, because now I'm seeing there is, from what I'm understanding so far, and I'll get into it in a second, but there's like, doesn't seem to be, in my opinion, people who are trying to communicate to Earth. And I think they were, I do think they were, but I don't think, like, if we haven't seen it successfully connected, how come this like alien from our current planet is like, oh yeah, the Earthlings are going to reach you, like at the telephone call? And that's, again, it's kind of a stupid take of me because I don't know the full context, because I didn't watch the other 2 episodes, and I'm not going to. I will later. But my point stands, because if that is the case and the scenario, which I am predicting it to be, because what other context is there from what they're saying? You tell me. Anyway, I just thought that was a bit of a jump scare. But again, not a total, like, I'm not allowed to be so critical because I don't know the full context. However, what I am critical of is that 5 minutes later, we are suddenly taken into a bar and perspective of the people who are like, hey, we've actually been rescued and the Earthlings are coming. They're gonna save us all. Huh? What do you mean? The Earthlings are coming now. Now? How? Episode 1. The Earthlings are coming. We're getting plant lore. We're getting Zip Zap to the third. I don't know. It's too much. It's too much. There's too much going on. And especially the Earthling. It really, like, it was the last straw for me. It really made me mad. And another thing that really made me, just an additional, is this right here.
That was so he could kill all humans and make a paradise for plants.
Wow, Millie. Really? Really? Who told you that? Who told you that one, Millie? I didn't know that. Thanks for explaining it to me. Actually, could you say it again?
Girl, that's a booty hole.
Thank you so much, because I really just didn't understand the context of anything that was going on, because I didn't watch the show. But I'm so glad you just like know that. And I'm so glad you made that conclusion, even though you're supposed to be kind of ditzy and silly. Also, for some reason, she's like suddenly a plant technician, or at least she knows some of the work, which again, it's allowed to be different. I think it's kind of cool that she can do that, or she knows a bit about plant, but like, why did we not like get any sort of hint about that? Why are we just like, it's just things are happening so quickly. It's such a jolting jump scare, and the things that are happening, I don't like. I hate the writing. It sucks. The only exception here is that Meryl is still a baddie. They kept her personality. They didn't change her to be disgusting and weird. They kept her silly. They kept her silly with still having a bit of a mature understanding. And I'm not talking about her other personality, like her other versions. It's kind of like, again, like a Vash situation where it's all slightly different, but also from season 1 to season 2. And it's something that they could have changed, and I was kind of worried they might, because she's like, oh, she's gonna mature, and she looks different, and she is probably a bit more mature, especially after her traumatic Roberto death and father number 2 obituary. I don't know, but I'm glad they kept it. I'm really like happy about that, because I mean, again, bare minimum, I guess, but not really. It was a good choice. So all that just made me mad. And then also what made me mad, what was like the actual ticking final straw, is we saw little Milk Mutant, and I freaking love Milk Mutant, okay? He had some beef with Vash or something. Again, I don't know the exact context, but from what I remember, I think his like mom or something was killed during the 5th moon incident. And I'm not gonna go back to verify this. This is just what I think. So I'm not taking this as like an actual criticism, because I don't remember exactly. But there's this character that, from what I remember, had beef with Vash, but now suddenly he's Vash's caretaker? Okay, where's Cheryl? Where's Lena? Where are my baddie family? Because these girls had such an important impact. I swear to God. I mean, it's the same situation where it's not completely necessary. You didn't have to have them in there, I guess. You didn't have to spell it out for us that Vash wanted a normal life, but to see his perspective about it and then decide to go back and do what he was meant to do. And although he's lost all hope, now he like really understands the situation, and Wolfwood is back in his life, and he just like gets everything. I think that's pretty important. Oh my God, I'm gonna drown. Help! Help me! Help me! And so when I just noticed that I did not see a grandma or a 12-year-old girl in sight, I knew I was going to hate everything. I mean, I knew from the second Millie said that line, but I also hated it when I saw what I heard was Ozzy said. It was just giving me the ick. There are some aspects of it where it's not a big deal, and I'm trusting the process. And like I said, I don't want to be hypocritical, because it's different, and it's allowed to be different. And I'm just saying I wasn't expecting certain aspects, and I'm trying to decipher myself if I genuinely think it's bad or if I'm just not used to it yet. Because I really try to be open-minded during that, because I'm not, like, I'm used to these things impacting at certain moments in a specific way for a specific reason, but I'm trusting that they know what they're doing. And honestly, if the war is happening and they're coming right now, we saw the Earth fleet ships coming, they look like fish, okay? They're sailing abroad. What's gonna happen the rest of the season? What's gonna happen? Is it gonna be a whole season of war? Are they gonna have 2 episodes of war and go back to Earth? I think that would be pretty fire, because honestly, maybe I can forgive all the horrentivity of the earlier episode of the season 2, and also all the other problems that it has, if it can forgive it with a good ending. Because the Trimax ending was so diabolical that I pretend it doesn't exist. It's awful. It's really, truly awful. And I think a lot of people agreed that ending kind of sucked. And so, I cannot decide whether to be optimistic or not. I'm trying to be. I'm going to wait until it all releases to give it a chance and then watch the full thing, and maybe I'll come back to you with my opinion on that. But with everything that they've taken, they've scrambled up the pieces. Things aren't impacting the same. There's real no characterization. Everyone just feels like a dry puppet of like a husk of themselves. And I'm not talking about the personality change. I'm talking about their personalities merging with the impacts that they have later on for characterization purposes, if that makes sense. That and the way that things are organized, and I mean, I already know Domina's not going to be in it, and they already executed my poor girl Cheryl. I don't know. Things are extremely disappointing. Like, I was extremely disappointed, and things just kept going downhill. I was like whiplash, because that intro is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. I freaking love this intro, dude. It's crazy. It sounds great. It looks even better. And so I had high hopes after that bland, sudden info dump Millie and Meryl situation. And then I got dumped down again when I saw Milkman go in a tree depressed, starving Vash, and I didn't see any Cheryl. And I'm like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? I'm trusting the process. And like I said, they have all their villains established, right? We saw the puppeteer guy, whatever his face is. I always forget about him. I know he's very important, though. I mean, one could argue, whatever. There's him, and then Marilyn's coming soon. We haven't seen her yet. And then who else is there? I mean, we've seen the rest of them. I know that, like, they're having, like, kind of a big, like, I know that the Green Gang, or whatever, the Gung Ho Gun, whatever, they're trying to, like, pile up and steal plants for knives, and maybe they're gonna have a big battle with Vash, and I think that's pretty cool. Maybe Wolfwood will be there. Maybe they'll say friendship is magic, and we just need to use the power of hope, and I don't know, Madoka style. Who knows? But with that many episodes, and them cramming all the stuff in now early, I don't know what to expect if there are 12 episodes. Some people said they expected 12 episodes, and I don't think there's a confirmed amount. Honestly, if it's only like 6 episodes, Anyway, that can't be. It just can't be because that's not possible. And I'm telling you, like, we're not even gonna manifest that. But I guarantee there's gotta be 12 episodes, and God, it better be something gorgeous, and they better be able to go back to Earth, and there better be roses and flowers sprouting everywhere because the plant survived, and you know, whatever. That's how it better be. Anyway, rant over. Here's the tour. I don't know. I was kind of zoning out the whole time, so I don't know what this creative choice was. I don't know what this monstrosity is. Looks kind of dangerous. And then we have ointment, and I'm still poor. I don't know what this is. That's where the creature goes. Me, I'm the creature. That's it. This might be my. I might never play this again. This might be like my rant world. So here I go. I also can't go. I can only go like this. So just look at my butt. Bye.